Hello. Today we're going to be looking at the Assist Property Tax application. The Property Tax application is one of the general government modules. There are several here. It's an integrated database of parcels and people. Let's first take a look at the integration of your people and your parcels, and then we'll jump into the tax billing system. With these applications, you can essentially have one database of names and addresses. So as you start adding other areas like permits or tax billing or code enforcement, you're able to look up by person and see everything you've got in your database that ties to that person. For instance, on this particular customer, I can look and see, have I sent them any tax bills? So these are all separate tax accounts that I can drill down and get detailed information on this particular property just by knowing the name. I can do the same thing for code violations, their utility accounts, and drill down to that information. So as I mentioned, the general government modules share one database of names and addresses. So by knowing the name, you can see all the records that are tied to the person. It also brings in all the balances. So if this particular account comes in to pay a bill, it'll bring in all the balances and you can pick and choose which one you want to pay. You also have the same ability to look at the information by property. So if you look up by parcel, if you know any bit of information like the property ID, the address, the owners, you can even search multiple owners, how it's zoned. These are all ways you can get to the property and see what records have been on this particular property. So we'll take this one. So by bringing up this property, you can see utilities, licenses, permits, code violations, so anything that's tied to this property. And the utility billing, the property tax billing application uses this information. So let's go take a look at tax billing. The tax billing has the same look and feel of all the other Assist applications. Things you do on a daily basis are all under the Daily tab. Things you do once a month, once a year, like the tax billing process, will be under the periodic. And we'll look at all these today. We also have a separate tab for reports. The system keeps unlimited history. We'll take a look at this, but all of your reports you can email, you can put in Word, you can also export to Excel. But we'll take a look at how you can even go back and look at a billing that you did 10 years ago and see all the detail. You can essentially reprint the billing register. Each application also has a set of inquiries. We'll take a look at this, but we're going to be able to see every tax bill that we've issued. We can see payments, we can see penalties, everything that ties back to that property. The last thing we have is tables, and this is where you get started, and this is where you're setting up things like what are you billing for, what are the rates, what are the taxes, what are the penalties, do you do interest? So that's all set up at the table level. Typically once you set your tables up, unless something's changing, you won't spend any time there. So let's take a look at daily. This is where you're going to spend most of your time. Let's go out and take a look at a property. As I mentioned earlier, every one of these fields are searchable if you know just a little bit of information. You may know part of the address. You may know the owner name. You might know how the property is zoned, or even the map code or phone number. So it supports limited searches. Tell the system what you know and it'll bring back a list. If you press enter, it brings back all the accounts. So I'm going to select this first record here. Couple of things about our system. If you look at the toolbar, it's like any other Microsoft product. So the navigation is just like Word or Excel. You can also log a support call right in the software. You don't even have to call us. It knows which application, it knows the menu option, and even within that menu what you were doing. You can type a question and you can say call me or email. So that's one way to get support. In addition, you can call the support line, they call you back. You can also log on to the support site and actually chat. So if you've got a quick question, you can get a quick answer. Typically on this screen here, this is the information that we populate typically from the assessor or from the county, so that we populate everything about this property. If you notice on the parcel ID, that's your unique code to the property. Some people call it a roll number, a parcel ID, so whatever you call it in the setup, you can label this field. You can also have an alternate account number so that you can look up the property by account number or by the actual property ID. In addition, down below, we're going to track information on the property, the physical description, how many buildings, how many dwellings. We can even track how the property is zoned in the actual land use. We do bring in the valuation. So there's other information. There's even user definable fields that you can set up to track all that unique information on this property. We also track the legal description, and this is a way you can search the property as well. So these are all searchable fields so that you can look up this particular parcel. Most importantly, we're going to track who's the owner, who gets the bill. We can also track the mortgage company and send the bill to both parties. So this gives us the ability to track who the owner is, and you might have a situation where you've got multiple owners. We can track all those owners. We also track the mortgage company, and as I mentioned, we can actually create a report that you can send to the mortgage company on all the customers that are tied to that mortgage company. The system keeps unlimited history, so all the assessments, the exemptions, for as many years as you want to track, this is where you're telling the system that information. For instance, you may have a situation, it's an assessment, it may be an addition, or it may be a reduction or an exemption. So all the things that need to hit the property to come up with the proper calculation, we can track those. And once again, unlimited history. You can also have unlimited charges and deductions. You might have just one fee you want to put on the tax bill, and only this one customer has it. You can bill for that, and the system does the accounting. And once again, unlimited years of billing, unlimited charges. We also do something with actions. And what this is, this allows you to track key events that happen with this property. For instance, whenever you have a new assessment, it creates an action, or the mortgage changed, or the owner changed, or maybe there was a payment. You can even create your own action codes. It allows you to describe it, it timestamps it, and you can also have unlimited text on the reference. So a lot of ways to document key activity. We also have reports that we can pull out by actions. Give me all the assessment changes for these range of parcel IDs. So we'll take a look at that later on. We also have 30 user definable fields. Some are date, some are dollar amounts. These here are unlimited text. So once again, if there's something unique you want to track on your properties, you've got a lot of fields here that you can use to do that. We also have other user-defined fields, so if you want to set up warnings, like if they gave you a bad check, you want warnings, we can do things like that. Notes, it has unlimited notes, so you can track key events. We also have a tab here for this actual physical structure. So if this is on that file from the county, we can populate this information as well. Clients that use our building permits like this information. Notice where you have attachments. This gives you the ability to scan and attach documents to the database. Anything you can attach in an email, you can attach to this property record. You might want to attach a picture, a video, a PDF. Maybe your customer sent you an email and you can print it to a PDF and attach it. So unlimited attachments. We're also going to ask you in the setup, do you like Google Maps or Yahoo Maps? And depending on your preference, it'll actually display the address. So I'm using Google Maps, and it'll actually take you to that property. But once again, this is the screen where you're maintaining everything on the property so that you can create the tax bill. So that happens under parcel maintenance. Other things that you might do daily. One is entering in payments. And we have a lot of ways that you can create payments in the tax billing system. You can create a batch of payments. You've got a stack of checks. You want to quickly get those entered in. We can even enter in payments for a certain mortgage company and all the properties tied to that. Or you can do individual payments. So my guess is a lot of your payments are going to be batch payments. So you would simply just create a batch. You can describe the batch, and you'll have one line per property, but you can very quickly enter those in. If you print the parcel ID on the actual tax bill, you can scan those in, so you're not having to key in the information. You've also defined what's paid off first, second, third. If there are partial payments, it also understands credits. So that's one way that you can get payments into the system. We can also bring in a file from the bank, or maybe from a third party like a kiosk where you offer the ability to do payments throughout town. So we can bring in a file that you can post those. You can also have customers that you set up to automatically draft it out of their checking account. We also have a lot of clients that actually will do payments on their website. So you can set up an e-commerce site where your customers are paying their tax bills. They first come to your website, and we actually put a payment button on. So they start with your organization. They can set up an account where they can pay tax bills, utility bills, any type of payments to the municipality. So let's go ahead and log in. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to log in, and if I want to, let's say, pay my tax bill, all I have to do is enter in the parcel ID, and in this scenario I'm going to say it's $150. So your customers are able to use credit cards. It's going to calculate a convenience fee, and your customers can use any card. Your organization collects 100%. The customers pay the convenience. It's a calculated. It's 3% plus 35 cents. They have to accept it, but the payments are posted to the tax billing system, so you're not having to enter that in. So that's another option. You can put a payment button on your website and download those payments, daily, weekly, and the timing of the money is the next business day. So they can use a credit card. The next business day, your organization gets the money, and it's going to equal the batch of payments, so you can easily reconcile. You can also easily reverse a payment. So if you need to reverse a payment, you simply look up the payment, select the payment, and it puts the payment back out there. So if you've got any payments, you can reverse them, and it puts the charge back out there. You can also put on a one-time charge individually or to a group. An example might be you may want to put an NSF charge if that check bounced. Or maybe you've just got a few parcels that you need to put on some additional charges. So it's easy to put group charges or individual charges to the tax roll. So these are things you might do daily. The actual billing process and delinquent process is under the periodic tab. The system handles as many different billings as you need to do. So when it's that time of year to get your tax bills out, you simply select who you want to bill. You put in the year, the date of the tax bill. If you've got multiple billings, you can do that. So, if you have a once a year, you might need to do like a supplemental billing. This system supports as many billings as you need to do to put on the tax roll, and we keep unlimited history. Once you've selected your group, if you've got one or two tax accounts that you need to do a little extra work on, you can pull those guys out and move forward with the 99%. So once again, you're not stressed out about getting the tax bills out. Get the 99% out. Deal with the other two tomorrow. Once you have your group, you're going to run this edit. It's going to let you know, are you missing things? Is there anything that you need to correct before you actually calculate your bills, print the register, and actually print the tax collector's roll and the bills. So we do have a laser statement that you can select and print. Once you post, we've updated all the balances. So that's kind of the final step. If you make a backup before you post, you can always completely start over again and go right down the list. So now that you've got your tax bills out, at some point you're going to want to calculate your penalties and interest. We handle penalties that you calculate so that when they come in, the penalty is on the account, or you can actually calculate those penalties at the beginning of the month and actually just go ahead and put those out there so you'll have a receivable on the penalties as well. So very easy to do. The system will also create the delinquent notices. We also have a process if you need to write off balances. So you can actually write off balances if you need to do that too, this option here. Now, let's take a look at the reports. As I mentioned earlier, the system keeps unlimited history. So once again, if you want to run out, let's say you want to run this receivable report, you can run it for today's date. You can even run this report as of. In other words, what were the receivables 6 months ago? Typically a question that the auditors may ask. If I want to run this for today, it's going to bring out and create a report of all the receivables. In the system, as I mentioned earlier, on any report you can email. You can take any report and print in Word, put in Excel, or you can print it to a PDF or just send it to your laser printer. Other things we have, you can create the arrears list. And once again, what's the date? As of. You could even do this just for a part of town. You can sort it by parcel, owner name, lots of ways to pull this out. And once again, this is going to give you a listing of all your arrears for that date. Now, historical billing register. I talked about this earlier, but this is really a nice feature. You're able to essentially reprint in detail any billing you've ever done, detailed or summary. How do you want to sort it? So you can go back in time and see the actual billing register in detail or summary. So once again, this is the first one I did, but this could be going back 10 years from now. Same thing for your penalties and interest register. You can go back and see what penalties and interest did you put on for any point in time. We also have this transaction detail report. You can run it for a range of properties, or maybe just one, or for a range of dates, and you can essentially get everything that's hit that property, any billing, any payment, any adjustment for any point in time. Now you can also reprint a bill. If you do use this option, I could reprint a range or maybe just one. If you want to, you can say copy on the reprint. So once again, lots of reports. You can easily create labels to your customers, so you can do labels for a range of properties, a part of town, and lots of ways to sort that. Now, other things down here, if you've got customers on a payment plan, you can run that report. We also have an integrated document processing. In other words, you're able to do a mail merge with Microsoft Word to certain parcels. You might want to send a delinquent letter. You select your letter, and it could be to everybody that has a balance. Or maybe you need to send a letter to everybody that is at a certain part of town, or that has a certain action or a certain exemption. So you can send group letters. It does a mail merge with Microsoft Word, so it's easy to do. You might want to get a report of certain actions. You might want to get a report that everybody that has an assessment changed, or a payment plan, or any certain code for any date range or part of your town. So lots of ways to run the reports. We also have an inquiry, and this is going to allow you to look up the property. Once again, the same search. What do you know? You don't have to know the parcel ID or the roll number. You can look this property up if you know any bit of information. Once you get the one you want to review, it's going to take you to essentially the first screen that we looked at, but you've also got detailed billing history, payment history, anything on penalties and interest. So you've got all the original setup information, but now you've got balances. It's going to break out your arrears. You're going to know, are there any credits? What's the outstanding balance? Are there any pending payments? Maybe you issued a post-dated check and you'll know that. You'll also be able to easily find out what do they owe you, what the balance is, and you're going to get a breakdown for all the billings that you've done. You can also, if you want to print history, if you want to on the transaction detail, I could reprint a receipt. I could print their transaction detail for any point in time just for this one account. So a receipt or the history can be printed here. You can also look at any penalties. If there are payments, you can drill down and see how that payment was applied. And once again, all the other setup, but you're getting to the payment history, the billing history, everything's here all on one screen for as long as they've been a customer. You may have 20 years of tax information all right here that you can reprint history, reprint receipts on this one screen. Now the last thing I'm going to show is really where you get started, and this is where you're setting up your different tables and codes. This allows us to essentially install this tax billing system, all over the world, all over North America, because you can define what gets billed, your rates. You can decide certain things, what your different types of billings are called, different automation on your actions, how you want that to work. So tables is where you get started. We do have an interactive service that together with you, we get all of the tables and codes set up, and then we train you from entering in information to doing payments and printing the bills. We're with you throughout the whole process. So like I said, if you have any questions, please give us a call, and thank you for viewing the demonstration.